Thank you so much, Giovanni. It's always a pleasure to have you come speak with us and to come collaborate with you. So the next speaker, I'd like to hand it over to Amber Rivero, who is the SGA president of John Jay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Very similar to earlier sentiments, it's a very emotional and intense time, obviously, in our nation, for, many reasons, especially for the BIPOC and Black community. And I am Amber Rivero, she, her, hers. It's an honor to be here with CUNY Abolition for Safety. Just like Giovanni, it's really been amazing to watch all of the advocacy that they've collectively organized across the university since last summer. And just how powerful that these students are in using their platforms and their voice to create change in society, right? And starting right here in CUNY and in New York. And before I jump into, the ways that we can hold CUNY accountable for divestment from Corecraft, right? And just build more awareness and support for our, Black and Brown communities across New York, but also in CUNY. I want to just share that, I've had a sibling who was incarcerated for many years and had to deal with labor exploitation. And at a certain point during his incarceration was not given the opportunity to education, right? I also have been justice involved, and I am a student and an activist, but before that, I'm a survivor of human trafficking. And what I can tell you is that labor exploitation and any form of forced labor at all, right? Whether it be human trafficking or what's happening to our incarcerated brothers and sisters across New York and across the nation, is something that leaves you not only feeling dehumanized, but extremely powerless, as if your voice doesn't matter, as if you have no agency over yourself. It's just the same as when they used to refer to African Americans as chattel, right? Or I don't know if I'm saying the word right, but it's the same exact thing that we're seeing. And so not only does it dehumanize and crush the spirits, but the trauma that lives with these people, right? After they come out from having to endure this forced labor year after year after year with no say of the conditions that they're being forced to work under, of the wages that they're being paid, and probably being told, right, while they're incarcerated, that this is the best they can get and that they should just accept it, right? Because they need commissary. It's extremely abhorrent. It's disgusting. And I can attest to the fact that even though I did not go through the same exact experience, it should have ended 100, 200, 300 years ago. It's extremely disturbing. And we know that in light of what happened in Attica earlier in New York's history, that New York does not have a history of respecting Black and Brown bodies, even when they're incarcerated. We know that human rights is not something that exists in American facilities or correction facilities. And we know that we have to continue to put all of our energy and all of our effort into fighting this. And so CUNY is a state held institution, and we heard that there was a law that mandates that these institutions and agencies have to give first dibs to Corecraft, but that law has been repealed, and it's only passed through the Senate that we know of. So all of the assembly members that are on this call, every single person on this call who has a local assembly member could be reaching out to that assembly member and lobbying them right now with CAS and RAPP and anyone else that's on this call, right? To make sure that these assembly members vote that they no longer have to purchase or give first bids to Corecraft. Putting a fancy name on the Department of Corrections and Labor Exploitation does not make it any less implicit in its crimes against humanity for our Black and Brown sisters and brothers. And the fact that these places are breeding grounds, for this type of behavior is really disgusting for society. And CUNY, as a higher education institute that is trying to make awareness for justice, that is trying to say that they care about Black lives and Brown lives, needs to do a lot more than just say their hands are tied because of a law. Plenty of CUNY alumni are elected officials right here locally and at the state level. There's no reason why we can't lobby these elected officials to stand for what's right. And the CUNY administrators who say that their hands are tied on making a public statement about our divestment from Corecraft or about our investment in anything or any corporation that uses labor exploitation of incarcerated individuals, they get paid thousands and hundreds of thousands of taxpayers' dollars, and their constituents, the students of CUNY, are literally sitting here saying, at least make a statement and talk about the implications of our relationship with Corecraft. That's the bare minimum that these people can do. And I'm sorry, but in 2021, if the leaders of these institutions and these agencies cannot be more progressive and stand for justice and stand for what's right, then they no longer need to be in these leadership positions and they need to be removed. The time for complacency, the time for silence, the time for people worrying about their own political agendas and careers and futures is long gone. If they cannot stand for what's right and stand for the dismantling of oppression for our Black and Brown people, then they no longer need to be in these leadership positions. And I don't appreciate the amount of times that we have heard faculty, staff, and admin across CUNY say that Black Lives Matter since last summer, but not put their money where their mouth is. When it comes to policies on our campuses, when it comes to funding for programs, when it comes to experiences in our classroom, and now when we're asking them to stand for what's right in a very bold and progressive way. And I'm sorry, but political agendas aside and people's own personal goals need to be put aside because they have the autonomy and the ability to stand up and do what is right in these moments. Their hands are not tied about making public statements about what is an injustice and what is oppression. Their hands are not tied from saying this is not the direction that this university wants to go. And they can no longer say Black Lives Matter like a catchy slogan to make themselves look absolved of this if they're going to continue to be implicit in the acts of it by having this relationship with Corecraft and other prison industrial corporations. Thank you so much to all the speakers. I appreciate everything that the incarcerated, formerly incarcerated individuals have contributed and shared with us today. I'm sorry for what you experienced, and I'm sorry that society even allowed this to happen to you. And I pray for better days. Thank you, Cass, for allowing me to be here.